An Iowa high school student is dead just weeks after being escorted by ICE agents back to his native Mexico. According to the Des Moines Register, the 19-year-old was killed by gang violence. The DACA recipient lost his status after being convicted of 2 misdemeanor charges last year. An ICE official says the high schooler wasn't deported but left voluntarily in order to prevent receiving a final removal order, which could have kept them out of the U.S. indefinitely. CBSN Originals Seeking Asylum, an immigrant's journey to America, explores the many challenges asylum seekers face once they're in the United States.
I got it, the goal. I need life. I need more life.
I wasn't expecting to see so many children here from the caravan. This is the moment these migrants have been waiting for. Just 100 meters from the U.S. border. People actually getting sent back and executed?
Correct.
I have met people who have been detained for 3-4 years. Seeking asylum is not a privilege, it's a right. Every single human being in the world has that right.
Adam Yamaguchi is part of our CBSN Originals team, and he joins me now. Wow, as always, as usual, Adam, with the reporting that you do, the images are incredibly powerful. You get so much of what some of these individuals are going through in tracking their journey and then seeing them when they're here waiting to live a life. What did you discover?
Yeah, what was surprising to me, as you saw in that preview clip with Shahab, Shahab was someone that we met inside the jungle, inside the Darien Gap between Colombia and Panama. And it was we were on a 10-day trek with him through some of the most treacherous terrain that I've ever experienced, and got out on the other side and parted ways with him. He had said to us that his goal ultimately was to get to the U.S. He barely survived the jungle, and he knew that he had 6-7 more borders to cross until he was in the U.S. And so for me, the most surprising thing about the journey was actually seeing him come out on the other side. He had WhatsApped us throughout his journey through Central America. He popped up in Guatemala, in Nicaragua, and finally in Mexico, and he said, I'm here, I'm almost at my destination. And then he got arrested and held in Mexican jail for about 20 days and reemerged yet again and said, I'm going to be in Tijuana in 2 days. And so we rushed out to see him to follow that journey, and we were just shocked that he had managed to come this far.
You know, you asked him about his thoughts on America, and I want to play a bit of what he had to say and ask you about that.
Before I'm thinking America is very, very perfect. But right now I'm looking not perfect. I'm nervous because I don't know. I don't know nothing about my future.
You know, describe for us the life that he left behind. Because when you said just now, I actually didn't know this, that he had to cross 7 different borders before he made it here to the United States. What was so difficult about the life that he left behind that he felt that he needed to be in America?
Yeah, so several years ago he converted from Islam to Christianity, which is a huge no-no in that country. It's a crime that is executable by death, and so punishable by death, rather, I should say. And so he had been arrested at one point and detained and beaten. He wears scars all over his body. And so he felt at some point that there was no life for him left as a Christian man in Iran. And so he decided to flee. He went to South America, made his way through Venezuela, Colombia, and then ultimately that's where we met him in the Darien Gap.
Wow. Walk us through the asylum process for somebody like him.
Mm-hmm. So what happens is, as he did, he walked up to the U.S. border outside of Mexico, or across from Mexico, and said essentially to the immigration authorities there, I am not in my home country. I'm afraid of going back to my home country for fear of persecution based on my religion. I'm seeking asylum in the U.S. And that starts a whole long process of questioning, of detention, and whatnot. It's a process that can last anywhere from 6 months to 3 years as the court system investigates his claims to see if they're legitimate, if there's an actual credible fear that if deported and sent back to his home country of Iran, that he would face imminent persecution or death.
So let's talk about what he had to say about asylum. I want to play a little bit of his sound here.
I got it, the goal. I got it, the goal. I need life. I need more life.
We met Shahab in the notorious Darien Gap jungle and spent 10 days following his journey.
You were in jail for
6 months.
6 months. You had security, you had food, you had medical care. American taxpayers who work and pay taxes, that's our money paying for your services. So a lot of people say, just go home. Why do I have to pay for you?
No. Today, you help me. Tomorrow, I helping another guy. Tomorrow, helping the other guys. You know. So, if you're feeling you're human, you have to helping everybody. I have one question.
That really drives it home. I mean, a lot of Americans have very strong feelings about immigration in this country. This is a country of immigrants. My parents are immigrants to this country, yours. But people feel very strongly, and it's a nuanced discussion. But when you hear it in such stark terms where he says, you know, look, if you help me because you're a human being, because you have a heart, then I'll help the next person, and hopefully that person will help the next person. That is part of the American experience.
Absolutely, and you know, when I sat down with him to have enchiladas and talk about his situation, I was coming at him from the perspective of, well, seriously, why do we have to shoulder the burden? Why is it America's job to be so welcoming? And his answer there just perfectly encapsulated it and reminded us what it is to be American.
Yeah, yeah. It is, in watching the journey of individuals who are looking for a better life and seeking to come to the United States, do you think that this reporting will help change the way Americans view the asylum process and the difficulties and the struggles that migrants have when they are trying to get to a better place?
I hope so. I mean, it certainly changed my perspective. You know, when I came into this piece, I knew nothing about asylum. And I think that, you know, many of us collectively we'd heard asylum as a sort of a buzzword in the last couple of years.
Right.
And my perception coming into this was that it was fairly easy for someone to declare asylum.
Yeah.
That there was a handbook. If I say these things to the court system, then there's no way that they're going to send me back.
Right.
You know, conscionably send me back. And the reality is the process is far, far more rigorous than I'd expected. And the journey that these people have to take while they're here is not something. It's not an easy process, you know.
You know, it's such an interesting point, Adam. I've realized in the last couple of years that it's hard for people to come here from France or Britain, that they face numerous hurdles. I have a friend who is here from Japan who is, you know, on a student visa, and she talked about the hoops that she has to run through just to be a student here in the United States. Now, we're talking about people that are coming from first world countries that are saying how difficult it is to live and work in the United States. I cannot imagine what it's like for somebody who doesn't have, you know, means or wealth at their disposal, and is trekking through the jungle just for the shot of a better life.
Yeah, I mean, Shahab, Reza, and many of the people that we spoke to in the caravan see imminent death as what awaits them if they're deported.
Wow, this is incredible reporting as always. Another powerful CBSN original. Adam Yamaguchi, thank you very much for stopping by, sharing this with us. And you can watch Seeking Asylum, an Immigrant's Journey to America right now on cbsnews.com/asylum.